I'm cleaning and squaring up the binding channel on this old archtop Gibson in preparation for new binding that I made, and I'm going to put it on all shaped and fit, so that all I have to do is glue it on and have no spray work to do on it. To do that, you really have to have a clean channel, and I'm using the small flat razor file that I sharpened on the belt sander to do that. It's the 90-degree corner at the bottom of the channel that you really want to have clean, so when you bind it, the binding doesn't kick out on you and presses in nice and tight into the corner. Nothing powders wood like these files. It's the cut of those teeth. They cut like a razor. A razor on your face will cut the whiskers, but it doesn't cut your skin unless you bear too hard, and that's what this file does. It cuts whatever is above the surface and floats along the surface. Unless you bear on it, and then you can really cut some wood. That's the file the way it comes before I sharpen it on the belt sander. Just like a regular file. Here's the sharpened one. I sharpen it on the sander on both edges with the block of wood to keep it square, and belt sand it till it's flat and shiny. Then I'm taking that end and standing it up and grinding that at 90 degrees. And then I go even further because my belt sander has kind of a round off on the end, and I can pull out onto that and get a slight concavity to it, which means the little points on the edges are like scrapers. When I'm done doing that, I take it over to a coarse diamond stone, use that block to keep it square, and stroke it back and forth and get it even sharper. So the belt sanding gives you the good sharp edge and lets the file drop right into the channel. This is a 1951 Gibson L4 that's been through a rough life. The binding off-gassed and got all dry and brittle like it does and was falling off in chunks. And I decided I would replace the binding, but as I started taking it off, I realized that the top and the back were loose too. The hide glue had dried out, and all that was holding the top and back on was the binding. So what I did was take binding off about a third at a time so the guitar wouldn't lose its shape. You can see why the wedge is driven into the open joint, how dry it is. I cleaned that out with my saws and sandpaper and put fresh glue in there, hot hide glue, clamped it up with spool clamps, and let that sit for about 2 hours, and then I'd go on to the other side of the guitar and glue that side up. In 2 days I had the top and back both glued, and then I went and made binding with Don MacRostie's binding trimmer, took some old bone-colored binding down to the exact size. So now I've got 4 pieces of binding almost perfectly fit. I'm going to be ready to fit it on as soon as I finish cleaning up the channel with my customized razor saw.